All right, we are on to bowl season, starting off on Saturday morning in Boston at Fenway Park, 11 a.m. Eastern time start. So really early battle here between Cincinnati and Louisville. Seeing Louisville is a slight 2-point favorite in this spot. And man, this total has gotten steamed down. This is in the mid 40s at open, all the way down to 40. And I am seeing some 39 and a halves here as I'm starting to record. So this under has been absolutely pummeled down below 40. I am going to have an official play on this game, obviously not on the total at this point. Give me Cincinnati plus the 2. It's an official 1-unit play for me. Before we get started, buckle up. There's a lot to get to intangibly in this game. Obviously, these are two programs who have lost their head coaches. Cincinnati with Luke Fickell going up to Wisconsin, and then Scott Satterfield, former Louisville head coach, going to Cincinnati. There's also a lot of transfers and opt-outs between these two teams. I mean, Cincinnati, 4 of their top 5 receivers are going to be unavailable for this game due to either transfer or opt-out, mostly transfers. But for Louisville, no Malik Cunningham, their starting quarterback. Really their only good wide receiver, Tyler Hudson, he opted out. Depth at running back is a major issue for them. And then also their top cover corner. So we aren't exactly getting either one of these teams at full strength. Sticking with the intangibles for a second, one thing that I do think favors Cincinnati in this game is the interim coach. I mean, Kerry Combs for Cincinnati. He coached in the NFL for a year with Tennessee Titans. He's been at Ohio State. He's actually at Cincinnati under Brian Kelly back in the day. I mean, this is a well-respected actual football coach. Look at Louisville's interim head coach, Deion Branch. Played at Louisville in the early 2000s. Had a pretty good career in the NFL as a wide receiver. I think he won a Super Bowl in New England, if I'm not mistaken. But, he's been a part of Louisville in sort of an off-the-field capacity, but he's not a football coach. That's one of those moves that, gets the fans excited. He's a great player at Louisville, all that. But when you actually get in the game, you have to manage a game for 60 minutes. I mean, what does Deion Branch know about coaching a football game? Good players don't equal good coaches. So I think Cincinnati's got a pretty sizable edge from a coaching standpoint in this matchup. Getting to the matchup itself, one other thing I forgot to mention about Cincinnati, no Ben Bryant. Their starting quarterback is down in this game. Obviously, he's the more established passer between him and Evan Prater. But the one thing about Evan Prater that I like, he's a much more of a dual threat presence within this Cincinnati offense. Cincinnati's got good depth at running back with Montgomery, with McClellan. When you add Evan Prater in the quarterback run into the mix, I actually think Cincinnati's going to have quite a bit of success on the ground in this game. I haven't been all that impressed with Louisville's run defense this year. Last time we saw them against Kentucky, that Kentucky offensive line sucks. And they just, quite frankly, won that game in the trenches against this Louisville defense. They got whatever they wanted to on the ground. Chris Rodriguez, Cavassier Smoke, both those guys had good days. So I think Cincinnati should be able to run the ball here. Louisville has had success defensively this year, but it's come much more against some of these prototypical ACC offenses. Pass first, shaky offensive lines. That's just not really what we're getting here. I think Cincinnati will come out with a run-heavy approach, and against this Louisville defense, do think that will yield good results in this matchup. On the other side, Louisville, Brett Dolman getting the start here. We've seen him more throughout the year. This isn't the first time Louisville's been without Malik Cunningham. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup this year. Dolman's kind of had mixed results, probably towards the worst side. 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Less than 54% completion rates. I mentioned this, that I was going to get to this. Tyler Hudson for Louisville, 69 catches, 1,000 yards receiving this year. Without him, I think their next guy's got like 30 for 400. They don't have a lot of quality depth at wide receiver. So I think that loss with Tyler Hudson and Malik Cunningham combined, this Louisville offense is going to look a lot different and probably for the worse. Jawar Jordan is a good back, but Louisville had 2 rotational backs enter the portal. He's really their only viable option right now. Very thin team offensively at the moment. I really like the Cincinnati defense. They haven't exactly imposed their will and been as maybe dominant as you'd like to see this year, but it's certainly not why that team lost 3 games. Still think they got a good pass rush. I really like the way they stopped the run. Yvonne Pace is a first-team All-American at linebacker. I like him, especially going up against a backup quarterback and a pretty limited group of receivers. Think the secondary is going to hold up fine as well. Going to be a cold, muggy morning in Boston. I think that's going to favor the team that's going to win up front and establish the run better. In my opinion, that's Cincinnati. I mentioned I like the intangibles of this matchup with these coaching staffs right now. As far as the Satterfield stuff goes, obviously he was at Louisville, now the head coach of Cincinnati. That's not a big part of the handicap, but he recruited every guy on this Louisville roster. So I'm assuming that he'll give Kerry Combs a little bit of a cheat sheet as to what to expect. I'm not saying Cincinnati should be a 3-point favorite here, but I do think the wrong team is favored. Cincinnati plus the 2 is an official 1-unit play for me. It's under or pass, but like I said off the top, way too much value lost off this. I think you could have gotten this at 43.5. Closer to win this open. So kind of missed the opportunity to play this under. I'm sticking with a side in this game. Cincinnati plus 2 is an official 1-unit play for me.